It's Friday, September 27th, 2013. Let's talk about what happened this week over at xdadevelopers.com. First up, it's been a little while since we talked about Google's Chromecast device, and a story popped up this week over on the portal, so I thought I would go ahead and talk about that quickly. As we've discussed before, it is technically possible to root the Chromecast, but if you've allowed it to connect to the internet, it's got the updated bootloader, so it's not gonna be rootable. But if you are in that select few that have not allowed it to connect to the internet, have not allowed it to be updated, have one that's just fresh out of the package and you want to root it, still not really a very easy process. And once you do root it, there wasn't a whole lot that could be done with it. Up until this week. XDA forum member Cheb came up with an image for Chromecast he's calling FlashCast, and pretty much what this does, it gives you a standardized image you can use to modify what happens on your Chromecast. It's sort of like a different recovery wherein you can use different root-based shell scripts or something to that effect to run all sorts of modifications on top of it to do, I guess, whatever you want to do with a Chromecast. He's got a link in his post where you can go learn about doing these modifications so you can sort of see if there's a way that you want to jump in and contribute yourself. So if you have one of these Chromecast devices and you have not allowed it to connect to the internet and update yet, you may want to go take a look this way. It's a little bit easier way to get your Chromecast rooted and to be able to do modifications on top of it without a huge amount of effort and input. Moving right along in a different direction, one of the first Android tablets I ever had my hands on was actually this puppy, which I just remembered I still own. It's the ViewSonic G tablet, NVIDIA Tegra 2, and one of the best things about these Tegra-based tablets, Tegra-based devices, is the ability to be NVflashed. So if you do something horribly wrong and you brick the device, you don't ever really brick the device. And it's thanks to having things like blob files that you're able to get into this APX-based NVflash type mode, which is a lower level than traditional recovery. So if you do something that completely hoses up the system, usually you can get it back into a working state thanks to having these blobs and having NVflash. Well, thanks to XDA recognized developer Rayman and the rest of the Android root.mobi team, there's now a relatively simple way to generate these kind of blobs for the original Nexus 7, that's the one with the Tegra 3 in it, the ASUS Transformer Prime, the TF300, and the TF700, which I'm actually using here to help make the video. Now do keep in mind the blobs that you will be generating are specific to the device that you're using, so you can't just use any one from any other device. You've got to use specific ones for yours if you want to do anything to your stuff. So if you have one of these devices and you want to learn a little bit more about it, go check out the original thread and learn about Flatline, learn about generating these blobs. Sounds like a lot of fun. It's probably something I ought to do for this little tablet and for my wife's Nexus 7 that she stole from me. And keeping things rolling, as some of you probably know, I am a developer by day, so when I see something pop up on the portal that has to do with programming related to doing it on Android, I find that kind of interesting. And so when I saw it pop up on the portal that there's now an open source LOLCODE editor and interpreter for Android, I knew I had to talk about it. LOLCODE is a very hard to describe language, realistically speaking. Heavily based on lol speak, and Icon has cheeseburger type cat images. Start things off by saying hi and end them with "okay, thanks, bye," and it's, you know, it's something I've read a lot about, but I haven't actually used myself. So seeing something like this out there that is free and open source, definitely something that's interesting. If you've ever wanted to learn a little bit more about programming, you may want to take a look at this just for some general, you know, entry-level type command line programs. Honestly, I think it would be really interesting to see what somebody could do with this on top of Android. And if nothing else, it is good for a little bit of fun, a little bit of learning. And being open source, you can of course jump in there and see how it all works, so that's an awful lot of fun. So yeah, if you want to learn more about LOLCODE and you want to do it on Android, go ahead and check out the forum thread for all the details. And keeping things rolling, one of the things that makes Paranoid Android very interesting to a lot of people, one of the things that has really jumped out in the last few months for me, is Pi controls. It's something that's just sort of come out of the woodwork in the last few months. Somebody created it, it got pulled into Paranoid Android, and then it just really exploded. But unfortunately, it was not available for older devices. It was not available for every device, just the ones that Paranoid Android is available for, and the ones where you could get this copy of Pi controls. Well, now thanks to XDA senior member Eat Heat, there is a version of Pi controls, although it's not the same Pi controls as any other one. This is one that he's done all on his own, that can be installed on any Froyo and onward devices. It's available through the Google Play Store, but it's a paid app there. It's $1 there, but you can get it as an APK through the original forum thread. So if you've ever wanted to put these Pi controls on top of your device, specifically if you've wanted to put it on older devices because it wasn't available for some reason or another, Now you can go ahead and take a look at this APK, try it out on your device, and see how it works for you, see if it's something you're interested in using. Of course, do make sure to read through the forum thread, check all the details, make sure nobody's having any issues out of it, make sure it's not stealing any information it's not supposed to. I'm just going to put that little bug in your ear there. I don't think it's going to, but you just really never know. You gotta be careful when you're installing new apps. And keeping things rolling and moving in a slightly different direction, I am an old school gamer. I've been playing games for so long, you know, I was playing games probably before a lot of you were born. The gray hair is not a stylistic choice, it's there because I'm old. Well, apparently XDA forum member Rules recently purchased a Windows RT tablet and was more than a little bummed when certain games would not work on it. Specifically, the original Half-Life. So Rules took the Windquake ARM project, originally created by XDA senior member B. Foster Jr., worked on top of it, and now has Half-Life working on top of Windows RT using this. Now keep in mind you do have to have the original pack files from Half-Life to import into this to actually make use of it, but if you have a copy of the original game and you have the files associated with it, you can just bring those in. It should work for you. There are ways to get those files that are not terribly legal, but we're not going to go into that. And if you honestly have a Windows RT device and you have a copy of this game, this is going to be a really small portion of people out there, but still, this could apply to you. And honestly, I thought it was kind of cool resurrecting a very old game on a platform that honestly hasn't gotten much love because we're not going to go into that. That's a flame war waiting to happen. Anyway, moving on. The last story I wanted to talk about is a little bit of a personal one for me. As a lot of you guys have noticed over the last 6-8 months or so, I've lost a bit of weight. Okay, I've lost quite a bit of weight. So when I saw an app pop up that was related to dieting and fitness, I thought I would go ahead and mention it just for those of you out there who may be looking to do the same sort of thing. This is not an app that I've used before. Honestly, I downloaded it and tried it. Didn't have a huge amount of luck with it, but you guys may have different luck. The app was created by XDA forum member Tofira, and it's called Dietista. And pretty much what it does, it allows you to input your information about yourself, what kind of exercises you do or you plan to do, what sort of goals you want to set for yourself, and it works out nutrition plans. It allows you to change things on the fly, it allows you to log what you're doing. Because realistically for me, that was like 90% of the battle. Getting in there and realizing what foods I was eating and how much and how often and how little exercise I was doing, that was most of the work. I'm going to put together an entire video on over on my tool.tv channel talking about this. The links to that channel you can find down in the video description, talking about the apps that I used and everything. But this one in particular, if you want to take a look at it, it is free. It's available through the Play Store. It allows you to set goals for losing weight, maintaining weight, increasing muscle mass, all sorts of things like that. So it's kind of hopefully kind of a catch-all application for just keeping track of what you're doing and improving yourself. I know that honestly, technology has allowed me to change my life in the last year. It's allowed me to change the way that I look, the way that I feel, and hopefully added significantly more years to the end of my life when I might not have been around to see my kids and my grandkids and my maybe great-grandkids. So yeah, if this is the kind of change that you're interested in making, this kind of app might be up your alley, honestly. And anyway, to wrap things up as usual, 3 other videos were posted to XDA Developer TV this week. The first one was a device review of the HTC One done by Kevin, followed up by a keyboard app challenge where TK compared TouchPal X versus SwiftKey versus the Google keyboard built into Android. And finally, TK did another Android app review talking about synchronizing files between different Android devices using Dashdroid. So yeah, if any of those things sound interesting to you, you can always find any of the links to the things I talked about down in the video description below. You can also, of course, find the links to my YouTube channels at the bottom of the video description. And at the top of that video description, you can find that like button, which you're more than welcome to hit if you did enjoy this video for any reason. And also feel free to subscribe to our channel if you'd like to receive our content as soon as it becomes available. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again on Monday.